Hello everyone, welcome to the first Q&A. So someone on the Discord sent me 5 questions about qimens. They know I just went to Qimen. They know I just went to Huangshan looking for qimens, and so they want to, so they had some questions. This person, I think, if I'm understanding, got turned down to qimens because of the Qimen expansion packs. That was a way of, that really got them to see the flavors that were possible in qimens, which is exactly what these expansion packs are for. So they asked me 5 questions, and you're going to see that based on these 5 questions, they already know a lot. They know a lot. They've done some really good research. Their knowledge of Qimen based on these 5 questions is above other people's knowledge. So I'm actually very impressed with these questions. And instead of like typing out the answers with my thumbs, I wanted to make a video and just allow me to expand and rant a little bit. So question number 1. How important/unimportant is the core area of qimens, like Likou, Pinglietc, etc. versus general? The price premium doesn't seem too much in comparison to something like core area yanchas. Does this reflect more the unimportance or the relative popularity/supply? Great question. Fantastic question. So Likou, Pinglietc, these are the most famous areas within Qimen. But as this person notices, the price differences aren't really that big to something like this here is Liqi, which is nearby Likou, but price is more or less the same. What's the deal with that? First of all, I do want to say that a lot of my answers that I'm going to give today are based on completely my observations. There are a little bit of books, obviously. You're going to see me state some facts. There's a book on Qimen that is I'm slowly getting through because it is in Chinese. So I think this is a good question, and I think so. First of all, we have to understand that the history of Qimen is very, very short, very, very new, as red teas are actually in general, where kind of late 1800s, 1880s for Qimen, you have the birth of Qimen black tea. Before the 1880s, Qimen was making green tea, and then Qimen, and then actually other areas within China, I'm now learning, started making black tea to fit export markets. And so what you see, so it's very new. And so Likou is famous. Likou and Pinglietc were the original towns for Qimen black tea. So their name mostly comes from historical settings, historical reasons. That being said, there's not much difference from Likou to Liqi, the town next to it, as opposed to like yancha, where there's a big difference between Zhengyan and Banyan. The prices are more or less the same. The quality is more or less the same. You don't have a taste characteristic attached to Likou. You don't have something. It's not really like these towns are better. It's just that these towns are more well known, more famous. On top of that, the Qimen market really isn't as developed as, let's say, the Yanshan market or the Longjing market. Where there's this desire for specialty. There's a desire for the best, and they start ranking, to be in a market where little differences are starting to get ranked and preferences are starting to build and reputation, you have to develop the market a bit. The Qimens are enjoyed, and I do feel like the market is growing just based on what I see from when I first moved to Huangshan until now. There's a lot more Qimen shops. But there isn't that demand yet. There's not that geekiness, that nicheness of Qimen. The terroir is not so important because, first of all, Qimen is gorgeous. When it comes to Qimen terroir, you really can't miss. It's a super mountainous area. Likou and Liqi, they're pretty much right next to each other. But to get from one to the other, you have to drive through these mountain roads, and it's just beautiful, nature, gorgeous. Like, these villages are pretty isolated. And then these villages are small. It's really, Qimen terroir, Huangshan terroir is in general beautiful and just has this beauty and this naturalness that comes from teas that are, once again, in general, compared to Longjing and all that, not that popular yet. And so the demand hasn't really caused any deforestation or anything. So you really get a lot of natural biodiverse fields. And so yeah, so you also get, you really can't miss terroir-wise. I have never been to a town in Qimen and been like, this place is really overcultivated. Question number 2. This is an interesting one. I was looking at the different processing types of Qimen. I saw that vendor prices usually go Xianglu, JinZhen, Gongfu, Maofeng. I wonder if this is a normal progression of pricing or the vendor is weird. The vendor's weird. Well, okay. Based off of that alone, based off of what I just read alone, just if we're basing it only on the making types, that's weird. That is a little weird. Okay. But this is a conversation about making types, because they're all, okay, so qimens generally, in Huangshan in general, but Qimen too, including Qimen, so Maofengs as well, they use, everything's heirloom. Most teas are heirloom varietal. So, it's not like yancha with this rogue way, shui and blah, blah, blah. Qimens are qimens. And somebody the other day sent me an article about how teas in Huangshan are not as good because they're using different varietals, and I'm like, that's weird. I have not seen that. Maybe in the bigger companies, but on the ground level, among the small makers, even the medium makers, they're using the local varieties. Okay, you have the leaf, and then what you do with this leaf gives you the different types of qimen. So qimen Maofeng. So qimen. This person says JinZhen, Jinmei. This person says JinZhen. I know it as Jinmei. Qimen Jinmei. Just like Jinjumei. The same. It's because of that same eyebrow shape. So Qimen Jinjumei will get shortened to Qimei. They take the qi from Qimen. They take the mei, beautiful, or in this case eyebrow, but can also, in Chinese, also means beautiful and becomes Qimei. But yeah, okay. I was like, it does mean beautiful and eyebrow, right? Yeah. So Qimei generally is the most expensive one. It is. So I have the expansion pack coming out, and Qimei is the most expensive because Qimei, this is where you see price differences. Qimei does have the highest demand. It is considered the best, and it's also the softest. They use the earliest picks, so the yield is the lowest, and it is the softest, the most complex, the more in tune, the more kind of what, if you think of generally what is considered good tea in the Chinese tea world, Qimei fits those. Soft, aromatic, sweet, all of that. Early picks, beautiful, good shape, all of that. After that comes Maofeng. Maofeng, now the term Maofeng means there was no shape-making step, that any shape that it took on during the making is the shape that it has. And so this means that, first of all, different Maofengs are going to look different. This refers to Huangshan Maofeng, the green tea, and Qimen Maofeng, the red tea. First of all, different batches are going to look differently. One of those may be a little bigger, a little more rolly. The other one's a little smaller, a little more wiry. But also you're not going to see uniformity between leaves within a batch. It's not like Longjing where they flatten it. It's not like Qimen Jinmei where they twist it. It's a natural, just whatever happens, happens. It is technically the oldest form of Qimen, but we'll talk about that in a second. Generally, this tends to be the middle level. This is what I'm drinking right now. Tends to be my favorite. It tends to be the one with the biggest variety of flavors, of sizes, of shapes, biggest variety. After that comes Xianglu. Xianglu is that same lure as Bilochun, that snail shape. And so you're getting that round shape, that, snail round spiral shape This tends to be the least expensive because it uses the latest pick. So the leaves are bigger, which means they yield more, which means the price is lower. Because the leaves are bigger, you don't have to pick as much to get 1 pound, which is a big aspect in tea pricing. How much tea do I have to pick to get a kilo? If I have to pick more tea to get a kilo, the price is higher. So Xianglu is generally, because it's a later pick, it's a lower price and it's stronger flavors. And so they're generally the cheapest, because they're rougher, they're bolder, they tend to be the more bitter of the three, and their leaves are bigger. Gongfu, Qimen Gongfu Qimen Gongfu now is the tea that's been chopped up. Now, a lot of people will say that Qimen Gongfu is the original Qimen, and that's pretty much correct, because Qimen Gongfu, the reason they broke it up is that, first of all, it creates a really strong flavorful brew. Second of all, it fits a lot into a box. Qimen Gongfu, Taiwanese oolongs, the reason tea leaves are made very small is so that you can fit a bunch in a box. And so these were chopped up for export. So when you look at the exported qimens in the beginning, yeah, they were Qimen Gongfu. So yes, people say that technically Qimen, they say that Qimen Gongfu is the first Qimen, fine, I'll take it. But slightly before that was Qimen Maofeng. Because they were just making fucking red tea. They were figuring out how to make red tea before they started breaking it up and before they started refining it. There's no shape making step, just send the tea through the making, just through the red tea making. What do you get? You get Qimen Maofeng. So it should, and so Qimen Gongfu is slightly fallen out of favor because it is strong and it is chopped up and it's one of the farthest away from that kind of ideal flavor of generally desired in the markets of light, aromatic, and sweet, like we get from the Qimen Jinmei. But so generally, it's cheaper. It's chopped up. The daily Gongfu on the website is the daily Qimen on the website is a Qimen Gongfu. You see, it's chopped up, and it's chopped up a little roughly. But you can have flavor differences. You can have levels of differences, price differences. They can be really cheap, but at the same time, when they're really well made and they have a very good making and good material, they will be the most expensive. The most expensive qimens I've ever seen are the high level, they call the state level quality Qimen Gongfus. I tried to get some this year. I'll probably get some next year. It's another conversation. So obviously within this, a lot of factors go in. I can't just say Xianglu is always going to be more expensive than Maofeng. That Maofeng is always going to be more expensive than Xianglu. Making pick time, making just whatever else goes in, quality, these will go in. But generally, because a lot is influenced on the picking, Qimens are the most expensive, then Maofengs, then Xianglu's, and Gongfus can really be the cheapest or the average. Gongfus can be cheap, they can be average, or they can be the most expensive. Then they ask, wonder which type the daily Qimen that you have, the really small leaf is throwing me off, Gongfu or Kongfu style? Yes, that is Gongfu. That is a broken style. And I will say, so when we come to the Qimen Gongfus, you have a large difference in pricing, you also have a large difference in making. Pricing, making, and quality. My favorite 2 Qimens that I've ever had have been Qimen Gongfus, but these are the high-level, expensive stuff. I remember I got my hands on some really good ones a couple years ago, and I would sit down for a session, drink the whole session till the leaves ran out, dump the leaves, throw in new ones. It was thick, it was rich, it was sweet, it was honey, it was amazing. And then when I tried to buy more, I wasn't quite getting that same level. So that was disappointing. But some of my favorites have been Qimen Gongfus, but Qimen Gongfus can also be pretty cheap. The Qimen that's on the website, the Daily Drinker Qimen, is a flawed Qimen. and that's why the markup on that tea is actually very, very low compared to what I've paid. It is probably the cheapest tea on the website, but it's really, I've paid more than other teas on the website. I've paid for it more, but but it's because it's flawed. It's flawed. There's a smokiness, there's a metallicness. When you're talking about qimens as a category, it is a flawed qimen, but I do think it's a really good intro to qimen. I do think it's really nice to get people into qimen. But it is a flawed qimen. So that's an example of a qimen Gongfu that's a little not made as well, and you can see it. Do you have any input on the relative quality/price or reputation of big qimen brands? I could find Xie Da Yu, Tian, Xiang Cha, and it looks like the first one is totally mass market, and the other two could be 2 starting points for hypothetical qimen drinkers. Damn, this person did their homework. Let's go. Okay. So yes, this person says 3 names: Xie Da Yu, Tian, Xiang Cha. Xie Da Yu is the biggest Maofeng company within Huangshan. You go to Huangshan, actually I didn't really see it as much. There used to be more. Maybe I just got used to it. You walk through Huangshan, Xie Da Yu is everywhere. And I remember at one point, Xie Da Yu on Old Street, which is the touristy area of Huangshan, they apparently put their logos on all of the different awnings of just random shops. Or they gave a bunch of shops awnings, but their logo was on the awning. So you walked down Old Street and you just say I thought it was Xue Yu Da, but maybe Xue Da Yu, Xue Da Yu, Xue Da Yu. I think I'm used to saying Xue Yu Da, but I might be wrong. They are the biggest company within Huangshan. You leave Huangshan and they're not that big or they're not that well known, but within Huangshan, they're very much known. So yeah, if you're going to talk about big brands in Huangshan for Huangshan teas, you have to start with Xue Da Yu. Tianziheng and Xiangcha. Xiangcha I don't recognize. I'll have to see the logo. Tianziheng is probably the biggest qimen brand. And I've been to both of their headquarters actually. Tianziheng is a good brand, a fairly big brand, but not. They're big within Huangshan, but they're not that big on a national scale. You leave Huangshan and you're not really going to find them. Qimen is interesting. I think they're pretty safe bets. I think they're actually pretty good. I think they're pretty, it's a good starting point. It's a good place to start getting into qimens. You're going to get some very safe qimens, some good flavors. You're not going to get anything too unique. They are going to try and make a bit of consistency from year to year, as any big company does. But they make some good teas. There is somebody in the Western tea market, in the Western tea world, who sells qimens from one of these companies. And it's fine. It's good. It's good. It's a good tea. You're not going to get anything too crazy, but you're going to get a good tea. I think red teas are pretty safe. I think red teas are pretty safe to get from bigger companies, and just to get in general. I don't know about price. I don't know about price. You are going to get very high prices, though, I think, because in China, tea, there's a major aspect of the tea market that is gift giving. And you get the tea and it comes in this nice box and it's beautiful and you pay a high price, and that way you can say, whoa, this is the first pick from this big company. It's very, it's like getting a 16-year-old whiskey. And even if you know nothing about whiskey, to be handed a bottle that says whiskey or, Scotch, 16 years, like those two things together, you're like, whoa. Same thing, or a similar thing to say, first pick from this company, whoa. It's a nice gift without knowing anything about tea. But then that means they're all going to be expensive. Just like, if you look at whiskey, yeah, there's a whole other conversation. But they will get expensive, and the price won't always match it. I can say that. And just like you look at whiskeys, for something to be called a 16-year-old whiskey, there's rules where like 40% of it, 50% of it has to be 16-year-old whiskeys. I think this is for rum at least. When you see aged rum, it's not saying that all the rum in that bottle is aged. Only a certain amount of it has to be aged, and so they can kind of get this high price, but not really get 16-year-old whiskeys, 16-year-old rum. So for these bigger companies, you're not getting as much value per dollar as you would from a smaller maker, who really, they know their individual teas and this, that, and the third. The quality is going to be distant. I don't know the prices, but I do imagine they're a little expensive. How is Qimen usually consumed in China? Mug, grandpa, for Gongfu, what's the sort of ratio? That seems correct. Another great question. Qimens, okay, so Qimens are unique because Qimen has developed a very developed tea with a developed market, is getting more developed, but it's in a green tea area. And so there's a lot of influence. And I think there's a lot of influence even in the flavor. I always call Qimens the green teas of black teas, basically. So Qimens are enjoyed every which way. You go to a shop, they're going to have, even on my last trip, I got poured Qimens in gaiwans, I got poured Qimens in yixings, I got poured Qimens in teapots. I got this teapot, I'm excited to pour some Qimen in it. I got poured a Qimen where it was this big thing, like that big, and he had a little teapot instead of that big, packed with Qimen Gongfu, and he did like a pour-over style. I've seen pour-over styles of brewing Qimen. And then in the wintertime, when that weather gets cold, people are gonna throw it in their mugs. People who walk around with tea, taxi drivers, construction workers, they're gonna grandpa that. When you go to somebody's house, they might grandpa you some Qimen. So really every which way. And I think this is an interesting thing I noticed between different areas, and green tea areas in particular compared to white tea or oolong areas. Green tea is just part of everyday life. There's not this idea really of stopping and sitting. You can, but not as much of like stopping and sitting down to make tea. White teas, oolong. If you want to have a white tea, you want to have an oolong, chances are, especially an oolong, you're going to sit down, you're going to boil the water, you're going to do the Gongfu cha. In green teas, it's glasses. It's glasses. Someone comes to your house, you give them a glass, and you throw some tea in it, you put some water on top. The way they drink tea is much more practical, much more everyday. It's more part of everyday life than it is something you step. You can, but it's not so much something you go do, or something you take up some time to do. And so how they drink is just whatever's convenient, what they like. I've seen teas. One of my first tea sessions in China when I was living in Huangshan, I got invited to drink tea with some tea drinkers, and they brewed tea in a French press. They just sat on the side of the sidewalk, had a folding table, some plastic chairs, and used a French press. It's just whatever convenient, whatever they do. There's very much, they are a lot less picky with the way they brew tea. When you go to tea shops, especially when you go to tea shops, they will generally use a gaiwan, but that's just because it's easier. People like gaiwans when there's multiple people because it's easier, but when they're by themselves, it's just whatever's convenient, And that's the really cool thing about Qimens is that they are super versatile, and Qimen, brewing a tea Gongfu style and then brewing it grandpa style, cool water, hot water, you're going to get vastly different flavors from it. Vastly different flavors. Yeah. So that's it. That's the 5 questions. I thought these were 5 really great. Oh, and when it comes to ratio, 5 grams. 5 grams for this part, this 100, 110 Gaiwan. One thing I saw this trip is they are using less. If you look at my videos, when I put them out, you're gonna see a lot of a yellowish gold liquid that I don't like, and I kept asking for. That I kept asking that they brew it more and brew it stronger. Recently, I've seen a lot more of this, and they get that from lower leaves, lower water temperature, like this tea. This tea, when they brewed it with my friend, I'll try to edit a picture in now. I don't know if that worked. Was much lighter in her shop because she brewed it. They brewed it lighter, but really cool to see everything brewed differently. So yeah, that's it. That's Qimens. Like I've said, I have a very personal connection to Qimen. It's a tea that I like a lot, that I drink a lot, that I like talking about, like people getting into. And so that's why I do the expansion pack. I actually, though, as I'm sitting here, I think I might change the expansion pack. A thought popped into my head. Because right now the expansion pack has a Qimei, a Mao, and 2 Maofengs, and the Maofengs are kind of similar. So I'm like, you know what? Let me get a Xianglu. Let me get a Xianglu. So I'm going to message my friend, get a Xianglu, and that's going to be the expansion pack. So thank you very much. This was fun. I would like to do more Q&As. So if you have questions, if you have a few questions about a tea, or if you have a question, shoot me a comment below, and I'll try and do another Q&A. All right? Thank you all. I appreciate all of you.